Did you find out what he died of? I didn't get far enough in the Rolling Stone article.
I'm going on to CBC. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry for the delay. One of the biggest performers in Canadian history, who was the unofficial leader of the band that's considered the greatest band in Canadian rock and roll history, has passed away. He put Aboriginal music on the map, not only in his native Canada, but across the world, and he will be missed. Robbie Robertson, according to CBC News, a late report on August 9th, his publicist confirmed his passing to CBC. Now, known for his great guitar work and his great songwriting with the band, died on Wednesday morning in LA after a long illness, according to Representative. Now, Robbie was surrounded by his family at the time of his death, including his wife Janet, his ex-wife Dominique, her partner Nicholas, and his children Alexandra, Sebastian, Delphine, and Delphine's partner Kenny. Gerard Levine, Robertson's longtime manager, said in a statement to CBC. Now, with the band, Robertson was credited with writing or co-writing the band's signature songs, including The Wait, Acadian Driftwood, The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down, Up on Crickle Creek, The Shape I'm In, and Chest Fever. Of course, well known for being Ronnie Hawkins, part of Ronnie Hawkins' backing band, The Hawks, with Levan Helm, and he eventually went into the band. Now, the band's first two albums were considered two of the greatest of all time, each ranking in the top 100 of Rolling Stone's updated compilation of the top 500 albums of all time in 2020. The same magazine rated Robertson at number 59 on the list of the 100 greatest guitarists. Just like Pete Townsend, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, a guitarist but a songwriter, a dangerous combination, but he drew upon his Aboriginal background to relaunch his career. We're going to talk about that in a second. Now, they were inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1994, 5 years after receiving a similar honor at Canada's Juno Awards. Robertson won an additional 5 Junos in a solo recording career that was huge in the 80s in Canada and internationally, and included popular radio hits Showdown to Big Sky, Somewhere Down the Crazy River, and What About Now. He was also faded towards the end of his career with the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2011 and Canada's Walk of Fame honors in 2014. Now, the idea about Robertson, he wasn't the type of person to blow his own horn. He had more to do with the Canadian aesthetic than he let on. Like Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, everybody, all the singer, Ian and Sylvia. But he was a folk singer, but a different way. He was a folk singer as a rock singer. A lot of the lyrics in his band hits had an important resonance with every Canadian. Now, he was one of the first indigenous rock stars, though few in the white-dominated music press took much notice or even cared. He received a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Native American Music Awards in 2017. Now, born Jamie Robertson in Toronto on July 5th, 1943, to a mother with Mohawk and Cayuga blood, he grew up in homes in Scarborough and Cabbagetown neighborhoods. While visiting relatives on the Six Nations of the Grand Rivers near Brantford, Ontario, he became entranced by the music played by his uncles and older cousins, and was given advice by elders he kept close to his heart as he progressed early in his career. Be proud you're an Indian, but be careful who you tell. That's the way it works. But the rock and roll, jazz, blues aesthetic that many Aboriginal people across Canada still play and celebrate can all be tied to the importance of Robbie Robertson. Now, at 16, his first band again opened for Ronnie Hawkins, the colorful Arkansas singer who regularly played Eastern Canadian bars with backup group The Hawks, featuring Levan Helm on drums. In short order, Hawkins cut 2 early Robertson songwriting efforts for an album and asked him to join. After Helm and Robertson, the rest of the members of what became the band were recruited in Ontario between 61 and 62, including bassist Rick Danko from Simcoe, pianist Richard Manuel from Stratford, and a classically trained organist Garth Hudson from London, who has played with literally everybody during his career, including the great Blue Rodeo. Now, the idea about the music he presented was rustic, with the Hawks and the band, incorporating elements of blues, country, rhythm and blues, decades ahead of an Americana subgenre that came into vogue. Danka, Helm, and Manuel, each with distinctive and powerful voices, took turns as lead singer. So his influence on music and the Canadian music scene was being felt quite early in the early 60s. By the time what they call the hippie generation came out, it went beyond and beyond. Now, according to Bruce Springsteen in the documentary Once Were Brothers, Robbie Robertson and the band, they had three of the greatest white singers in rock history. To have any one of those guys would be the foundation for a great band. Now, this documentary, directed by Canada's Daniel Roher, was the opening film at TIFF in 2019. Now, they settled on their new name before the July 1st, 68 release of the debut album, Music from Big Pink, because they were hanging out with Bob Dylan at the time. That music didn't sound anything like what we did with Ronnie Hawkins, like anything we did with Bob Dylan on the infamous tour, so having a new name felt natural as well, said Robertson and Once Were Brothers. Now, Harrison and Clapton were among the early high-profile fans, and critics hailed September 1969's The Band album as well. In a rarity of a rock group at the time, the band made a cover of Time magazine in a very famous photo in January 70, heralded as the future of country rock, and this was before Mike Nesmith and the Eagles and everything else they changed. Now, the band would be a staple at rock's early major festivals like Woodstock and Isle of Wight, coming home for Canada for the Toronto Pop Festival and the infamous Cross Country Festival Express. Now, 4 of my albums followed with popular songs including Ophelia, Life is a Carnival, and Stage Fright. But Danko, Helen, and Manuel all struggled with substance use abuse, and Robertson began to tire of touring. The original lineup bowed out from live performances with an all-star 76 concert in San Francisco, captured on screen 2 years later in the iconic The Last Waltz, which also featured Dylan, Ronnie Hawkins, Van Morrison, and Neil Young and Joni Mitchell. Now, Robertson said he too succumbed to a period of decadence with drugs while consorting with pal and Last Waltz director Martin Scorsese in the late 1970s, and they were roommates for a while. So did one influence the other? We don't know, but Scorsese, I think, became a better director and editor and producer hanging out with Robbie. Now, he was also an actor. His infamous role in 80s Carney with Jodie Foster, but soon realized acting wasn't a passion, with a small role in Sean Penn's The Crossing Guard 15 years later, his only other on-screen film credit of note. But just like most Aboriginal people, me included, there was a charisma to his personality, and his personality was a draw for women and men across North America. He wasn't a gay icon, but he wasn't hard in the eyes. And being the face, literally, of the band, the Paul McCartney of the band, I know this day is going to be sad for a lot of people. Now, more lasting, of course, has been a relationship with Scorsese, as he worked as a music supervisor on several of the director's films. He also recently finished writing the musical score for the director's upcoming film, Killers of the Flower Moon, a highly anticipated movie. You know he's going to win an Oscar, for sure, for this. But ladies and gentlemen, it's been a rough time for celebrities. You know, Sinead O'Connor, William Friedkin. It's been a rough go. But I want to tell you a quick story about Robbie Robertson. He was interviewed a lot on Much Music when he released that album, and you could tell it was unfinished business. He could have reformed the band because most of the band members were still living, but he wanted a path for himself, just like Paul McCartney. So the band in 1976, at the height of its powers, disbanded, no pun intended. And we never really had another Canadian band as big as them other than Tragically Hip, but Tragically Hip wasn't big internationally. Everybody knows at least one band song. And The Weight, if you've lost somebody, if you believe that the world is coming to an end in your life, you listen to The Weight, and they popularized the term, take the weight off. So, sorry I'm crying a little bit, but, you know, he meant a lot to a lot of people. And just like Neil Young and Joni Mitchell and Shania Twain and Hank Snow and Wolf Carter, it goes all the way back to Ian and Sylvia. A singer-songwriter is what we do best, Gino Vanelli. And he's really going to be missed. And as a Acadian Métis in the Aboriginal community, love him or hate him, some Aboriginal people didn't like him because he didn't really blow his own First Nation horn all the time until, the 80s, really. He kept it hid. Just like a gay person doesn't want to come in the closet until it's safer. We're going to miss him. And I know one thing, ladies and gentlemen, the retirement of Buffy St. Marie and Robbie passing away, it's been a rough few days for the Aboriginal music community in Canada. And as my old friend, the late Candy Palmer once said, you can rock to Robbie. Anyway, we love you, man. We're going to miss you. Bye.